Okay, good morning, all. Uh, so, my voice is audible to everyone and screen is
Yes,
visible.
sir. Good morning, sir.
Okay, fine, thanks. Okay, so yesterday we saw about the started the embedded system. Before that, earlier classes discussed about the difference between microprocessor and microcontroller and started the concentrating on theoretical concept or philosophical concept on the ARM based system. Why need for ARM? Reason is just we discussed last class that it low power consumption and simple design, and it can able to handle complex or performance can be improved by adding some new features in that. We discuss today. We'll discuss those features, how it coordinate with or how the philosophy of risk is similar to philosophy of ARM design. Okay, today we'll start discussion on that. Before that, in the ARM risk, we discussed about the design philosophy concentrate on instruction set, which having fixed length or single cycle execution, then pipeline concept, then number of registers and load store architecture. Same thing adopted in the ARM also, but along with the new features are some small modification they have done in instruction, pipelining, and load store architecture. Okay. So today start with the ARM design philosophy. Okay, fine. So in ARM design philosophy, concentrate on small processor for lower power consumption and high code density for limited memory or any physical size restriction. There are some maybe it is memory constraint. Okay, and it ability to work with the low speed also and high speed memory also. Okay, nothing but low end memory and high end memory support both kind of memories. Okay, and the size should be of small in size so that it can reduce the manufacturing cost or make it more uh, comfortable or handheld devices. Okay, so what are new things are included in the ARM design philosophy as compared to the risk design philosophy is that uh, it includes the low power consumption because of the smallest core, limited memory because of to make it high code density inside the ARM processor, small memory or that RAM or ROM, sometimes flash memory also are included. In die density, basically the die density thing, but semiconductor die or chip size, simple hardware execution, nothing but we discuss about in the uh, risk design philosophy where hardware made it more simple and software made it more complex. The reason for hardware making more simple to make it more less power consumption. Okay, so but ARM does not follow purely risk architecture. Okay, because of some constraint of some application, because some application more complex, so need more complex hardware also. Reason for that, some embedded devices like video based device or image based devices or nowadays mobile handsets, okay, does not purely follow risk. uh, Instead of saying that on risk architecture CISC will be there on it, nothing but the base is risk, on that CISC you are running it. Okay, we can't say completely purely risk. Okay, now but the design always we follow the in ARM always follow some risk processor to make it more simple so it can operate at higher clock speed. If simple the hardware, faster the execution, and it can work with higher clock speed also. So that ARM design concentrated on that. Okay, now we'll go in bit more depth of it. Okay, uh, keeping in mind the embedded system design, so the ARM instruction as I said, that it's not purely the risk. In several ways, the ARM is much suitable for nowadays for any embedded applications. Reason for that, it will provide you the variable cycle execution for certain instruction. There is no fixed cycle execution as we saw in the risk instructions. Variable size. It some instructions are work with one clock cycle, two clock cycle, three, four, based on what kind of for what complexity you are working on it, okay, or where that ARM is deploying it. Okay, so in case of load store instruction, these are not a single cycle; these are variable, depends on the memory speed, because load store nothing but bring from memory to the inside the processor. Load store means from processor to the memory. Okay, nothing but it not does not going to directly operate on any memory. Everything processing done only inside the processor register. Okay, now sometimes what happens, some sequential executions are there, or that can be jump from one memory address to another memory address. Okay, so that also we need the more faster or randomly can able to access those memory locations. Okay, that in that case we need the variable execution cycles, or more number of clock cycles are required. Okay, now one more additional hardware is added in the ARM, that is inline barrel shifter, loading to more complex instruction. So inline barrel shifter work is nothing but it is shift register only, basically help to pre-process the your input from the register, not only from register, not from the memory. Keep in mind that it given that it one input from register. Okay, we'll go in more detail about barrel shifter in the subsequent part of ARM architecture. We'll go inside the ARM, so we'll come to know that what is mean by pre-processed. Nothing but already pre-processed example. First you want to multiply it, then after that we want to add it. So nothing but instead of using two instruction, so this barrel shifter can perform both at the same time. Nothing but it first simultaneously perform multiply and also even add also. That is nothing pre-processing. Pre-processing nothing but first in multiply it, then add it. Nothing but multiplication already available, that only to perform the addition it. Okay. This basically help to improve your core performance and even code density, and it can be used for video processing or uh, in a complex matrix multiplication. In that we can use it. Okay. After variable cycle, inline barrel shifter, now third one is a thumb 16-bit instruction set. Now this thumb instruction set basically used to ARM can execute 16-bit instruction also and even 32-bit instruction. Nothing but it can help to switch between 16-bit and 32-bit instruction. Okay, but 16-bit instruction always improves your code density of around 32-bit as compared to the 32-bit instruction. Okay, 32-bit instruction most of are fixed length. 16-bit some are variable, one cycle, two cycle, or three cycle are there. If instruction size is smaller, so more the faster execution as compared to 32-bit instructions. So that is the main. That's why the code density get improved it, or it need less memory inside the chip. Okay, if you are using internal ROM of ARM processor. So these are the three factors, and two more remaining factors are there. It is conditional execution. It basically helps to execute based on some conditions. These conditions provided by your flag register, or we can say that uh, status register, or conditional flag bits. Okay, these will like example conditional flag bit, example like carry flag bit, sign flag bit 0, or overflow flag bit. Based on some condition, execution we can change the execution sequence from one part of the program to another part of the program. That also it is supported. In risk, there are limitations are there in the conditional instruction, but here lot of things are improved in the ARM. We will discuss the conditional instruction in the second module. Okay. A few instructions are covered in first module, but more detail in the second module. Okay. Then enhanced instruction. Okay, these are enhanced instruction basically used in some DSP based processor, digital signal processing instruction, basically used to 16-bit by 16-bit multiplication operation, or in simple words saying whether we video processing or it is image processing. In that these enhanced instructions are used. Okay, our syllabus does not support, does not cover the these enhanced instruction, only covers the conditional instruction or simple arithmetic and logical instruction will cover it. Okay, but nowadays there are many processors are DSP processors are available with ARM application processor and even dedicated uh, digital signal processor. Nothing but combination of application processor and the DSP processor. On the two cores will be available on inside any embedded devices. One will be the DSP processor, another is the application processor. Application processor nothing but ARM processor on same core. On same core will be available. Okay. So this is the philosophy behind the ARM design, is to make it variable clock cycle execution and inline barrel shifter to provide you the pre-processor information, then support 16-bit instruction with the help of some architecture, then conditional execution and some more advanced enhanced instructions. Okay. So nothing but the main reason behind that ARM architecture and CISC. In CISC, fixed length are there, and very few conditional instruction will be there in the CISC, and even does not provide to operate with the complex processing like video processing or image processing or audio processing also. So that features are added in the ARM design philosophy by adding some additional hardware for that. But that hardware does not consume more power also, even the, because it follows again risk architecture also, but not completely, but in certain part in keeping in mind the less power consumption point of view. So some part follows the risk architecture. Okay. Now come to the embedded system design, embedded system hardware base, how the ARM is used in the embedded appliances. Okay. So embedded system can control many different devices from small sensor from to the real time control system. Okay. All these devices are uses a combination of software and hardware component. Okay, it's not completely only a hardware component, both software and hardware component. Okay, that is the main thing in any embedded system. Okay, now I'll go in more detail about this. Now this is one common ARM based embedded device, very general simple one, where this complete rectangular box indicate the ARM processor or microcontroller. Inside this microcontroller, I'll write MC. MC means microcontroller. Inside this ARM processor, then interrupt controller, a AHB arbiter, then AHB APB arbiter, then memory controller, again some external bridge, then Ethernet controller, timer, real time clock, or sometimes for the UART. Okay, we'll discuss about this AHB APB in next subsequent part, where we'll come to the bus protocol or bus architecture. In that we'll cover discuss about AHB means what, APB means what. All these things, these blocks are included inside the on same core or same chip. Okay, these are on chip on chip blocks are, these are not off chip. Okay, off chip means we discuss in microprocessor. Example of this is MP, and we externally connected to the output unit, then input unit, then memory unit, where your input output memory unit, all these are off chip, but in case of ARM processor all these are on chip. Okay, because you can observe that memory controller and these Ethernet, counter timer, real time clock, UART, these are all input output or peripheral blocks are there. Okay, so nothing, it can interact with external world. Okay, these are our on chip blocks are there. Okay, along with the additional bus protocol and bus architecture that can be achieved with AHB and AHB APB bridge. Okay, we'll go in one by one. In any ARM based embedded system, four main components are there. That is ARM processor, then control can be memory controller or interrupt controller, then peripherals and the buses. Okay, we'll go in one by one. All these four components are controllers, peripherals, and buses. Okay, ARM processor, it is controls the embedded devices. It can be available in different versions or different cores are there, or it can be 16-bit or 32-bit or more than that also. Okay, mean basically ARM controller controls the memory management and cache. If ARM is available with cache memory, that is controlled by in the basic ARM processor. Then come to the controller. Controller basically two commonly controllers are there: memory controller and the peripheral controller. Or sorry, interrupt controller and the memory controller are available. There are different interrupts are there. We'll discuss one by one. And memory controller, everyone know about this one. Okay. Even we'll repeat this one, same thing. Then we'll come to the peripheral components so that it can interact with the outside world with the help of input and output. Uh, Capabilities or external chips are available, or any other additional input or additional output we can attach to that. Okay, then bus basically used to communicate between the different parts of the devices. Okay, bus also play an important role. It's not that only it is on wire which can carry address data or control signals. The bus is also play an important role. Okay. Okay, fine. Now ARM bus technology. Now why need to concentrate on bus? Because bus is just a collection of wires which can carry the information between the two different units. It can be inside the microcontroller or outside the microcontroller, or to the, or we can say on chip blocks and off chip block also. Okay, so how it will communicate, and how it will help us. Okay, in usually in any microprocessor or 86 family based PCs are what we are using nowadays. AMD, Intel, all these are 86 family members. Okay, where they follow some peripheral component interconnect or multiplexed bus design are followed it. But in case of ARM processor, nothing but in the microprocessor, all these components are off chip. Okay, but embedded system need to deal with on chip internal components. Okay, and so need a bit more complex bus technology is adopted here, because we're going to deal with internal, it is on chip internal components. Okay, now here I'll come back to this block diagram. Okay, you can observe that these are all internal buses are there inside. Whatever this single line indicate, these are internal buses. These are all connected to all different blocks of the controller. You can observe that this is one vertical common bus to the all the components: ARM processor, memory controller, interrupt controller, then UART, then Ethernet, then timer and counter, then some arbiter bus protocol. This is common. Okay, so how this communication can make it much faster? So we need to follow some protocol for that. Protocol nothing but rules we need to follow it. So before jump into the that those protocols, this part well known for you, bus master and bus slave. Hope you remember in computer organization. Okay, usually the ARM processor acts as a bus master where it initiates the data transfer, and rest all components or peripheral acts as a bus slave. So or any logical devices can able to request for the bus master. Okay. The bus has two architecture levels are there. Okay, first level where the bus width and its electrical characteristic. So nothing but how much power it can consume it, whether it need negative voltage or positive voltage, or it can deal with both positive and negative voltages. Okay. So and bus width nothing but whether it is can able to carry 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit information. Then second level of bus architecture is protocol. Just now I discussed that. So what protocol or rules are followed, how they'll talk to each other, how these different blocks of ARM controller or on-chip blocks can talk to each other or communicate each other. So some rules are followed for that to make it proper communication or proper synchronization is required. So we need to follow some of the protocols are adopted. Those protocol we call it as a bus protocol. So more popular bus protocol of ARM is AMBA bus protocol. Okay. AMBA means AMBA. AMBA means Advanced Microcontroller Bus Architecture. Okay. This is very widely used in on-chip bus architecture of any ARM processor, and this introduced the two buses, that is ARM system bus ASB and ARM peripheral bus APB. Okay, ASB APB, and later on ARM also introduced ARM high speed high performance bus, that is AHB, high performance bus. Okay. Now this AMBA architecture or sorry AMBA protocol will help to improve the communication between different blocks of the on-chip blocks of the ARM, that can be achieved with the ARM system bus, ARM peripheral bus, and ARM high performance bus. Okay, I'll go back to the diagram. You can observe that this is AHB means ARM high performance bus, APB means ARM peripheral bus, and ASB ARM system bus. Now this is ARM system bus is common. This is system bus, whether it is used for peripheral or whether it is used for the high performance. Okay. So because we are dealing with the two types of uh, component, peripheral component and the internal components. Okay. So where we need lower speed and where you need the higher speed. Okay. Because if you are using all things are high speed, then it affects your the power consumption of the microcontroller. So that can be optimized it with the help of uh, APB and AHB. So bus protocols help us to uh, utilize proper power management. Okay. Then how the AMBA peripherals are designed, it is reusable. It can be, you can say that is a copy and paste kind of thing. AMBA protocol. Okay, it's not, if ARM 7 is used, ARM 11 also we can use it. Okay. No need to new design required or new protocol is required. Uh, it can be adopted on chip bus also, and some in off chip also architecture adopted. And this play to improve your plug and play interface of hardware developers to improve ability to market. Plug and play, everyone know the meaning of it. Now example plug and play, when you connect the USB Bluetooth to your laptop, so easily to detected and start functioning it. Or if you best good example in your for more mobile phone, if you connect to the OTG cable or OTG adapter, so it will detect the external memory or external components are detected on your mobile handset easily. There is no need to install or no need to driver is required anything. Just plug and start working it. That's why plug and play. Okay. Then AHB, that is high, name itself indicate the high performance, helps to data higher data throughput. Because of this, ASB is a help works as a centralized multiplexed bus. Multiplexed bus means that there is one common bus. We can use the same common bus to carry the addresses also and even data also. Okay. So need to switch between the address and data. We need multiplexer for that. Whether that bus is used for the address or whether that bus is for the data, we are using the multiplexer for that. Okay. That's why the system, so the ARM system bus will help to switch between the data and the address, whether that bus is used for the address to carry the address or to carry the data, whether that information you want to carry in higher rate, that can be achieved with the AHB protocol, ARM high performance bus protocol. Nothing but where the clock speed is increased and it can support the, now how we can make the higher speed. Of course we need to increase the clock speed. Again, the number of bits are increased to provide the higher throughput, 64 bit and 128 bit. Okay, that's the reason the data higher data throughput is required for that. Nothing but AHB does not that much support for 16 bit or 32 bit. Okay, better basically used for 64 bit and 128 bit. Just now I said that all protocols are, or all things are not high speed or higher throughput is required. 16 bit, 32 bit normal protocol or as usual system bus protocol can be adopted. If you are working, if that device is working with 64 bit or 128 bit, go for the AHB protocol. Okay. And two variants of AHB are there, multi-layer AHB and AHB Lite. Okay, it's not covered that much detail in the textbook also. The AHB basically used to single bus master to activate on bus at any time. In multi-layer bus also allowed in multiple active bus architecture. Nothing but it can support single bus architecture and multiple bus architecture. That is the advantage of AHB. I hope you know that single bus architecture in computer organization, in which part it is covered. And fifth model, or I don't remember, fifth model I think, in basic processing unit. This is single bus architecture where the the bus is common to the all the block, only single bus is there. Through this bus only all these blocks will communicate each other. That's why you need master and slave. One master initiate which holds the control on the bus, another slave, the data get transfer from or transfer between master and slave. In multiple bus, I'll come to the multiple bus architecture. This is multiple bus architecture now here. Bus A, bus B and bus C. Nothing but we can make one master and then two slaves also we can make it. Or two master also we can make, or one slave, or different combination we can make it if number of buses are more. Okay. So number of buses are more, faster communication can be possible. Simultaneously more than two units are start working it, because the no need to wait for if single bus is there, the till the bus get free, then the transfer can be possible. But here multiple bus, no need to waiting, but the hardware complexity increases, size of the hardware increases, so of course the cost get increases. Okay, so wherever performance matter, or in that the multiple bus architecture is used. Okay, the HP Lite is a subset of AHP bus and it is limited to single bus master. So HP Lite is used for only single bus master or single bus architecture. Then multi-layer name itself indicate that multi-layer AHB is used for the multiple bus architecture. Okay. Okay, then multiple layer bus also work with the multi-processor or parallel processing can be made it more possible at higher throughput rate. Okay, and because number of buses are increased, so you can work with more than one processor, and we can increase the throughput also. Nothing but if you're the if that appliance is working with 128-bit information, 128-bit information that can be divided into two uh, two 64-bit information. One will run in on a one processor, another will run in on the another processor, and both can coordinate and mix up it and provide you the 128-bit result. Okay, so simultaneously faster operation or parallel processing can be done on it. Okay, so we'll not go into that much complex architecture. We'll follow some simple architectures. Now this is all about the bus technology and bus protocols. Now come to the memory hierarchy. Memory hierarchy is well known to everyone. This graph itself indicate that uh, how the processor will support with respect to memory size. This memory can be on chip or off chip. Of course, on chip higher the performance, off chip lower the performance, but it affects the size. Cache memory is usually on chip. Main memory also is adopted in on chip in some ARM processor, some ARM processor off chip. Of course, secondary memory always with the off chip. Okay, we can observe that the performance and cost get decreases as we move from the cache memory to the secondary memory, and even the size get increasing. Memory size goes on increasing. So nothing but you need more performance, so we need to bear more cost on it. Lesser performance with the huge size will be available, but the performance get degraded here. Okay, that's why the memory hierarchy is followed. Data get transferred from secondary to main memory to cache memory, or cache memory to main memory to the secondary memory. Okay, again the main thing is that the ARM main, because of the different bus protocols, it supports slow memory also and fast memory also. Both will support. Okay, nothing but it supports simple example, it supports DRAM unit can work with the SRAM. That is the main advantage of this ARM bus architecture. Okay, you know that cache provide the basically come up with the prefetched instruction will be available. Okay, it can improve the execution time. Improve the execution time also. But if you are increase, of course, it does not help in a real-time system if the ARM is work with the cache memory. I'll come to that why it does not work with the real-time system. Okay. Now in main memory, usually size varying from main memory nothing but RAM from 256 kilobytes to in megabytes also, depending on where it is deployed, which application you are using it. Of course, load store architecture is adopted in main memory. If it is off chip, load store architecture adopted. On chip, no need of load store. Uh, Secondary storage are larger and slowest form memory. So very rarely any embedded device secondary memories are used. Only nowadays only available, most of appliances nowadays available with mobile handset. External SD card is used. Internal memory is there, and external memory nothing but secondary memory. Now in case of television system, set-top box, it does not have any secondary memory also. Okay, it work with whatever things are available inside the or internal memory or internal RAM or internal cache memory it is using it. Memory width, if your memory width nothing but how much number of bits it can enable, or how many number of bits are there, memory it can able to access it, whether it is 8-bit address, 16-bit, 32-bit or 64-bit. But problem is that if number of bits are increased, the more number of clock cycles are required to access those addresses, access those instruction also. Okay, in case of 32-bit, if that is 8-bit memory, 4 cycles are required. 16-bit memory, 2 cycles. 32-bit memory, 1 cycles. In case of thumb architecture, two cycles are required if you are working with 8-bit memory, one cycle and one cycle for both the 16 and 32-bit memory. Because ARM is basically come up with the 32-bit 32-bit instruction or 32-bit memory. So easily it can work with one cycle. But when it reduces the number of bits, the clock cycles are increased. Because first copy lower 8-bit, then will copy the higher 8-bit. Now in case of 8-bit, because usually it follows the each like page system. I don't know whether page system is covered in CO. Nothing but address is usually assigned for 32-bit data. This is 32-bit data. Now it assigns some address. Let's assume that 001H. So easily within one clock cycle, easily can access the 32-bit. If 16 bits are required, 16-bit, let's assume that this 50% 16-bit, so it need two cycles. First this one and later on the higher 16-bit. In case of 8-bit, all these divided into 8, so of course need the 4 clock cycles are required. That is the main problem with the ARM. So that can be improved by if you are change the mode of 32-bit to 16-bit with the help of thumb architecture. Okay. So you know that different types of memory, ROM, RAM, SRAM, DRAM, SDRAM. DRAM need refreshing, additional refreshing is required, but SRAM does not require that refreshing circuitry, because in DRAM capacitor are used to store the binary information. In case of SRAM, flip-flops are used to store the binary information. SRAM is much faster compared to DRAM, but SRAM problem is that costlier when size get increased. So that's why SRAM is widely used in cache memories. DRAM is used in main memory. Okay. Now come to the peripherals. We discuss about bus protocol, memory. Now come to the peripherals now. Now peripherals is not only with the simple serial communication, also can support the wireless devices 802.111 series, whatever you are using, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Zigbee or NFC. These are all follows the wireless protocol series name. IEEE standards are followed, that is IEEE 802.11 standard is followed for wireless devices. Okay. Whether these peripheral component can be assigned the addresses with the memory mapping technique or IO map technique. Hope you remember that memory mapped IO and IO mapped IO or peripheral IO. Okay, so that kind of address can be assigned for that. Okay, someone asked the question, I think. Okay, fine. No question. Okay, fine. Oh, now whether those peripheral address is on main memory or apart from or isolated from the main memory or peripheral or IO mapped IO kind of thing. Okay. There are two different controllers are used to control these addresses. Memory controller and interrupt controllers are used to need to control these peripherals. Okay. Memory controller and interrupt controller. So in memory controller, of course, it only coordinates the different types of memory. Uh, then when any device you power on it, the memory controller configure that and try to detect all the connected different hardware and activate all those hardware. Nothing but there is a small software part is stored in the memory that will activate those hardware. We can say that activate nothing but device driver will be used to detect, so make it much functioning of those hardware. Okay. Some memory required refresh, like DRAM required refresh. So nothing but the memory control till it wait for till get all the memory blocks get refreshed. So needing latency will get increased here. So that should be coordinate. But again, in case of interrupt controller, nothing but those devices will raise the interrupt request to the microcontroller, and how the processor is going to handle that. And then two ways are there, or two types of interrupt controller are there: standard interrupt controller and vectored interrupt controller. Okay, and standard interrupt nothing but same kind of, in general, any microprocessor, how the deals with the interrupt, whether it immediately accept that, whether it decline it, whether interrupt can be disabled or interrupt can be enabled, or it can interrupt. But in case of standard interrupt, problem is that the processor not or controller not able to give the priority for that. Priority can be made with additional hardware circuitry. So instead of going with additional hardware circuitry, one more controller is used, that is VIC, interrupt vector controller. Okay, this vector controller basically used to uh, prioritize the all the interrupts and easily determine the what action should be taken by took by need to take by the microcontroller. Okay, now this is all about the bus protocol, bus technology, bus protocol, memory, then peripheral. In peripheral, we saw about the memory controller and interrupt controller. Now we'll jump to the embedded system software. We just we discuss about the hardware part. Now we'll come to the software part. Any embedded device, we need the software to drive those hardware. Okay, these are the following four types are there. That is initialization code, device driver, operating system, and application. This is bottom part is hardware part. To make it operatable, we need initialization, then device driver to drive those different peripheral components. Then operating system is optional. Okay, some embedded device come with and without operating system. Then most of the embedded device having run with single small application will be there, which is residing on the top layer. Okay, these are all abstraction layer to execution on the hardware. Now what is the initialization code? It is first code to when it turn on the in that embedded device, it start booting. uh, how to detect or diagnose the all the hardware, connected hardware, whether they are working or not, or any other any functioning errors are there, that is detected by the initialization code. Operating system, uh, again basically it used to manages both hardware and software coordination. Some embedded does not have any operating system. Without operating system it is available. Then device driver, this basically is software, system software, we're able to make it operatable, the peripheral connected or the hardware connected, make it operatable or make it uh, provide some working of those, or what those hardwares required. Okay, to drive those peripheral or hardware, the system software is adapted, it's called a device driver. Then at the top layer, application will be there. It work with that, can task can be smaller task or one task or multiple tasks will be there. Okay, so software component, these software usually stored in the ROM or kept in the flash RAM also. The ROM is fixed code, or sometimes called initialization code, or what in software part is stored in the ROM. And another name we call it as a firmware. Okay, in embedded, usually instead of calling as a software, call it as a firmware. Now come to the initialization code. We'll go in bit more detail about initialization code, operating system, and device driver and applications. Okay. Okay, fine. Few more minutes. I'll continue it. Just few more minutes. So initialization code is nothing but boot the code or whatever firmware stored in the ROM, or sometimes called that image, software image is stored in the ROM. It will get copied into the main memory and start executing that. And work of these having task of what is the work of this initialization code is initialize the hardware components, configuration, diagnose the hardware, and boot the complete system. Okay, then we need the proper memory mapping between that memory software image and the what that image is going to copy it on the main memory or RAM. Okay, because this initial boot code or initialization code always in the ROM. Okay, so we need proper memory mapping, that where the IO register information got be stored, where what how much the fast SRAM where it can be mapped on the SRAM. Then we need some DRAM for any other operation, and boot ROM where must be kept in the on your main memory. Okay, memory mapping technique. Hope you know that in cache memory mapping. Okay, different three types of memory mapping adopted. Similar kind of thing or in different memory mapping is also adopted in initialization code. Now come to the operating system. Operating system is again basically a software which runs the hardware or control the activities of the hardware and controls the synchronization between different applications, or instead of saying it will overall management of the software and hardware. Okay, so this operating system organizes the system resource peripherals, memory, and processing time. ARM usually supports different 50 different operating systems, and it having two categories are there: real-time operating system and platform operating system. RTOS, in simple word, real-time operating system, RTOS, it provide guarantee response time, and it available in basically used in two applications: hard real-time application and soft real-time applications. Okay. In hard real-time, the guaranteed response should work within the time. Here only good response are required, even though it is failed also no problem. That is soft real-time. Uh, then platform-based operating system, you know that Windows, Linux, Macintosh, those also are used nowadays. Android also is running on uh, ARM-based appliances like mobile handset, or just we saw about Android TV. These are all based on running on ARM system. Okay. Now applications, it can start with simple tasks to the complex task. uh, Whether that application, in case of whether we are running only operating system, without operating system, any simple processing task, or whether you are using for special purpose like network or any automotive or in mobile or any consumer devices or any mass storage, or it can be image for imaging applications. Okay, so different applications or with or that ARM where you deployed it up. Based on that, we need to install the appliance application for that. Okay, so today I'll stop here. So next class we'll discuss the ARM processor fundamentals. Now I'll go more detail about ARM part. We'll look at into the register architecture, then internal data flow model, then registers and their working of those registers. We'll go in more detail in programming point of view. Okay, so thank you everyone.